Welcome to Echoes of Africa, where hidden stories, bold voices, and untold truths rise from the heart of the continent. Before you dive in, hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because every echo here reveals the Africa they don't want you to see. The maps of power are being rewritten. The data cables, the trade corridors, the flow of capital and ideas that once ran north and west are now tracing new paths across deserts, under oceans, through African cities pulsing with energy. For more than a century, the West built and controlled the networks that powered the world. But in 2025, a different grid is coming online. African-designed, African-financed, globally connected. From Lagos fintech towers to Kenya's digital rail corridor, from Egypt's hydrogen ports to South Africa's semiconductor hubs, a continental web of energy, data, and finance is rising, quietly replacing the old order with a new one. This isn't charity or chance, it's strategy. A trillion-dollar alignment of trade blocks, green energy, and tech infrastructure now binds Africa to Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. Western markets once exported blueprints. Now they import innovation. The West isn't collapsing, it's being out-networked. Every great shift in world history has been powered by networks of trade, information, or energy. In the 19th century, Europe's railroads and telegraph lines made it the center of the world. In the 20th, America's oil pipelines and digital highways carried global power. The 21st century's new network is different: distributed, green, digital, and multipolar. And Africa is at its center. Across the continent, cross-border trade integration is creating new arteries of commerce. The African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, now operational among 47 countries, connects 1.4 billion people in a single market worth over $3.4 trillion. Its logistics systems are being built not by old colonial powers, but by African and Asian investors, linking ports in West Africa to highways in East Africa and digital payment systems in the cloud. Nigeria's Lekki Deep Sea Port, Ghana's New Tema expansion, and Kenya's Lama Corridor have become gateways not only for goods, but for data and finance. Fiber optic cables running from Cape Town to Cairo are doubling Africa's internet capacity every 3 years. In 2024, Google completed its Equiano subsea cable, connecting Portugal to Nigeria and South Africa, cutting data costs by as much as 20% and sparking a wave of digital entrepreneurship across the region. This is how a new world network is built, one connection at a time. Where Western systems once extracted value, the new African grid circulates it. Startups in Lagos are processing payments for European clients. Senegal's energy exports now flow into North African hydrogen plants that supply EU industry. Moroccan solar power travels through undersea cables to Britain. Egypt's green hydrogen terminals are linked to Gulf investors. South Africa's chip manufacturing pilot projects attract Asian capital. Power is no longer defined by where the factories stand, but by who controls the flow of electrons, data, and transactions. By 2025, Africa hosts 9 of the world's 20 fastest growing economies, according to the IMF. Venture investment in African tech surpassed $6 billion in 2024, more than 10 times the level a decade earlier. The demographic engine, an average age of 19, guarantees a century of labor, creativity, and consumption ahead. At the same time, ECOWAS and other regional blocs are recalibrating economic integration. Despite internal political strains, they have established frameworks for financial interoperability and digital taxation, preparing the ground for a unified payment and settlement system. The long-planned eco-currency, now targeted for 2027, aims to reduce dependence on the euro-pegged CFA franc and to enable seamless intra-African trade. For a region historically bound to external currencies, that's more than technical reform. It's economic emancipation. While Western economies wrestle with stagnation and aging populations, Africa's combination of youth and digital adoption is magnetic. Smartphone penetration exceeds 70% in urban centers. Mobile money platforms process transactions worth over $900 billion annually, according to the GSM Association. The infrastructure of everyday life, payments, identity, logistics, is now digital first and largely African-built. BRICS partnerships accelerate the trend. China remains the largest investor in African infrastructure, but the field is diversifying fast. India, Brazil, Russia, and the Gulf states have all signed multi-billion-dollar deals for refineries, industrial parks, and tech corridors. The BRICS New Development Bank increased its lending portfolio in Africa by 45% in 2024, financing renewable projects and transport links in Angola, Nigeria, and Ethiopia. Unlike previous aid models, these are structured as co-investments, with African institutions taking equity. Energy is the pivot around which this network revolves. North Africa's solar and hydrogen corridors are already feeding Europe's green transition. West Africa's gas and renewables partnerships supply regional grids. The Trans-Sahel Solar Belt, a set of megaprojects backed by the African Union and the European Investment Bank, will soon generate more electricity than the entire installed capacity of Spain. These aren't headlines of the future, they're projects under construction today. The New World Network is physical, digital, and monetary. Physically, through ports, rails, power lines, and cables. Digitally, through platforms, data centers, and fintech. Monetarily, through new financial systems that no longer rely on single currency reserves. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPSS, launched by Afreximbank, allows cross-border trade in local currencies, saving African businesses billions in transaction costs and reducing exposure to external exchange shocks. This quiet financial revolution underpins the broader power shift. When value circulates within a region instead of exiting it, leverage accumulates. By 2030, intra-African trade could double, reaching nearly $1 trillion annually, according to UNCTAD. As trade deepens, political influence follows. African governments are negotiating as a bloc in global climate and technology forums, demanding fairer terms and technology transfer. The tone has changed from petition to partnership. Technology hubs form the backbone of the new grid. Lagos, Nairobi, Kigali, Cairo, and Cape Town now host clusters of startups rivaling established ecosystems. Pan-African broadband projects link these hubs into a continuous digital market. Amazon, Microsoft, and Huawei have all built major data center infrastructure across the continent. But African firms, Flutterwave, M-Pesa, and Dila, Jumia, are no longer merely local champions. They export software and services abroad, earning hard currency and global users. Behind the data cables are energy cables. The continent's renewable potential is unmatched. The International Renewable Energy Agency estimates that Africa could generate more than 10 terawatts of solar power alone. The Desertec vision once drawn in European offices is now materializing in African ministries and private boards. Morocco's Nur Complex, Egypt's Benban Solar Park, Kenya's Lake Turkana Wind Farm, and South Africa's green hydrogen zones mark a shift from resource extraction to energy leadership. All these elements form a self-reinforcing loop. Digital infrastructure demands electricity. Electricity requires finance. Finance flows through digital systems. By building all three simultaneously, Africa is not catching up, it's leapfrogging. Countries that skipped landline telephony have become pioneers in mobile finance. Regions that never had centralized grids are inventing distributed renewable networks. The implications for the West are profound. European and American policymakers now court African markets as partners, not dependencies. The EU-Africa Green Energy Initiative pledges $150 billion in investment by 2030. But the tone of negotiation has flipped. African governments set terms, prioritize local content, and co-finance ventures. The United States Prosper Africa program, once focused on export promotion, now emphasizes joint digital and manufacturing value chains. Africa's leverage also extends to diplomacy. In 2025, the African Union gained a permanent seat in the G20, formalizing its role as a collective power. Continental institutions such as the African Development Bank, Afreximbank, and the Africa Finance Corporation coordinate financing on a scale that rivals mid-sized global lenders. When combined with sovereign funds from Nigeria, Botswana, and others, the capital pool for continental projects is formidable. Still, challenges remain. Political instability in parts of the Sahel, debt vulnerabilities, and governance gaps can disrupt progress. Yet these obstacles coexist with structural momentum. The overall trajectory toward connectivity, self-financing, and diversification is unmistakable. The new network is not a mirror of the old one. It's less hierarchical, more regional, more digital. Instead of a single center, it has multiple nodes. Cairo for energy, Lagos for finance, Nairobi for tech, Johannesburg for industry. Data moves through them faster than oil ever did. And where data flows, influence follows. In education and research, African universities and innovation labs collaborate directly with Asian and Latin American partners. Cross-continental scholarship programs, new visa-free travel zones, and startup accelerators are creating a generation of Africans who think continentally rather than nationally. They are the operators of the New World Network, polyglot, digital native, economically literate. By 2040, Africa's working-age population will exceed that of China and India combined. The continent's demand for infrastructure, housing, and clean energy will define global growth patterns. Already, multinational corporations locate their Africa hubs, not as satellites, but as command centers for emerging market strategy. Every network produces feedback loops. The stronger Africa's connections to other global South regions, the more its bargaining power grows with the North. Supply chains diversify, technology standards adapt to African markets. Global institutions adjust voting shares. The idea that development follows Western templates is fading. Instead, collaboration follows data lines and investment corridors built in Africa's image. The story is far from over, but its direction is clear. A century ago, the Berlin Conference divided Africa into external networks of control. Today, African policymakers, entrepreneurs, and citizens are drawing their own map, a lattice of energy, digital, and trade routes that redefine globalization itself. What emerges is not isolation but interdependence on new terms. The New World Network does not exclude the West, it resets the balance. It's a circuit where power is shared, influence distributed, and innovation localized. The world's economic current no longer flows in one direction. In boardrooms from Silicon Valley to Singapore, in ministries from Abuja to Brasilia, analysts track these developments not as distant headlines, but as indicators of where the next century's prosperity will come from. The realization is spreading. Whoever understands Africa's networks today will understand global power tomorrow. The New World Network is already live. It hums through fiber lines beneath the Atlantic, through solar grids in the Sahel, through fintech apps on 1 billion phones. Its architects are young, its foundation renewable, its reach planetary. And in the years ahead, it will not only connect continents, it will redefine what connection itself means. You've been watching Echoes of Africa, where every story carries the sound of tomorrow. If this moved you, subscribe now, like, and share so Africa's voice never fades into silence.